I mean, specialists could be sitting here in Johannesburg and consulting with a clinic in rural Kumbu in the Eastern Cape.
You've got to think about how SAMA is bringing digital leadership to the table. Can you talk me through some of the steps you're taking?
Most importantly, the government must come together from the two ministries and invest on making sure that South Africans have this universal electronic health record. And I mean, if we do that, we can get to universal health coverage quicker than we think.
Welcome to the next edition of ITWeb Business TV. Today, we are joined by the CEO of the South African Medical Association, Dr. Mzulungile Nodikida. The organization represents thousands of medical doctors across South Africa and has been at the forefront of supporting healthcare for these practitioners throughout evolving challenges. These challenges range from medico-legal issues to practice management to the changing technology landscape. And as healthcare globally moves towards digital transformation, South Africa's medical landscape is also changing. We have issues that range from introducing telemedicine to electronic health records to artificial intelligence diagnostics to mobile healthcare applications. The digital revolution is reshaping how doctors practice and how patients receive their care. So can you just set the scene for me and describe for me why the digital transformation conversation and as you say, the AI conversation has become so important within your industry?
So AI and digitalization in general has fundamentally transformed different sectors, and healthcare is not immune to that impact. And at SAMA, we take this very, very seriously. We decided that we will play the lead as a National Medical Association in leading the doctors and the whole sector into the integration of AI in healthcare. What we've done in relation to that is that last year in November, we held the first roundtable on AI and its application in healthcare at the Huawei headquarters. This was where we met with various stakeholders, players within the science space. We had our partners from the US, the American Medical Association. We had the University of Alabama in Birmingham. We also had the University of the Western Cape, their School of Computer Science. And we had the Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Blade Nzimande. So out of those discussions, it became clear that SAMA would have to take a leadership role in providing what we refer to as clinical and ethical leadership in the application of AI and leveraging of technology in the health space. So we've taken that role, and that's the role that we really are committed to see. Even our own strategy talks to how the country can leverage technology, not only just for an improved quality of healthcare, but to solve some of the fundamental problems that the system is currently facing, one of which is medical legal. And we also believe that we will be able to leverage technology to practice some of what is now being practiced globally, which is predictive and precision medicine.
Yeah, so why are these such an important shift? Why are these so important to shift, I think I should say, in terms of South Africa?
We think that it's very, very important for the continuation of care for patients, that South Africans, if we accept the concept of universal health coverage, we might as well accept that all South Africans need to have a universal health record. This allows South Africans to, at a click of a button by a doctor, to be able to access your medical information, and then they can plan your treatment regardless of which of the two sectors you choose to go to. So it must be able to integrate data from both the public and the private sector. I spent about 4 weeks in Taiwan where I saw this in practice. The Taiwanese government has set up a system that allows for all Taiwanese data to be stored at a national level. So we can leverage that as South Africans as well. We can build our own because we can't translocate from other regions of the world into South Africa. So we can use our own population, build in a precision medicine prototype that speaks to South Africans.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I certainly think that it has the potential to have fundamental shifts across economic and social growth, and people's ability to hold and retain jobs, and health. When how people are well, people can work, and the economy thrives. But are there any other elements to that I perhaps haven't touched on that you feel this would bring in terms of benefits to the country?
You can even connect remote areas to teaching centers, and the data of the patient at the point of care is available for the specialist at the highest level. So for me, it's not just it's almost like the overhaul that the minister is talking about in terms of the system. It can easily be achieved with just technology. Okay. But of course, you do need the safeguards of clinical and ethical leadership. It doesn't just improve efficiency, but it improves the quality of the care that patients receive. I mean, specialists could be sitting here in Johannesburg and consulting with a clinic in rural Kumbu in the Eastern Cape. So for me, I think this is not just about it's almost a question of national importance, which is why as a medical association we're excited to be leading this. And maybe I can share with you that as a follow-up to our roundtable, we will be hosting the Minister of Science and Technology on the 20th of May and the Minister of Health. And one of the agenda items is fundamentally this issue of how do we integrate technology and how do we make sure that South Africans have this universal health report.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's amazing. And I think that takes us very neatly to, I think, us trying to understand the fundamentals of bringing this vision to life. And one of those is being able to bring the medical practitioners on board. And what I'd like to find out from you is what steps are being taken, what processes are you following to bring medical practitioners closer towards digital and its potential?
So one of the things that we've tried to do and are committed to continue doing is to build partnerships that would allow for the training of doctors on this AI and its application in healthcare. So one of the things that we've done with the University of Birmingham in the US is to make sure that we have a module, we call it the mini MBA. Part of that is actually AI 101. So doctors will be trained on how these systems work. And it's actually easier when you think about it. It's easier than what they've been through in med school. So that's the one thing. But the second thing that is important for us in Sama is that in the main, most doctors have perceived technology introduction in healthcare as almost something that would replace them. So we then need almost a change management process that allows them to understand that it cannot replace their medical knowledge. It just augments what they do. We also need to manage the doctor-patient relationship, which is in the medical field is viewed as sacrosanct. So the Health Professionals Council of South Africa has issued out the guidelines for how do we manage this application of AI in healthcare. And because we take this very, very seriously at the South African Medical Association, within my office, the office of the CEO, we've set up a team of experts that is leading our contribution to the Health Professionals Council, which is led by a globally renowned ethical leader who's Professor Ames Dai. formerly the head of the Steve Biko at Verds. So is leading it with our head of health policy and research unit, Dr. Mhlengi. And we've got experts from different backgrounds. So we need the tech nets. We need the guys from the legal background to come in so that we can contribute comprehensively in the guidelines themselves and provide that necessary clinical and ethical leadership that we say is needed in that space. So we've done quite a number of things, and we've in fact partnered with some of the leading universities globally to see if we can train doctors as fellows in AI and its application in healthcare. So recently we did distribute, I think if the team was here, you would see that the ICDF, which is a funding state agent from the Taiwanese government, is offering bursaries to train doctors in AI. I've just spent a week in China with our colleagues from the Chinese Medical Association, and what they've done in that space for doctors themselves. And one of the questions that we were asking was, how did you manage to get doctors over the line to embrace technology the way the Chinese doctors have done? And they say it's all about training and being clear that this technology is not here to replace them, as it cannot replace them, but it augments and makes sure that what they do is of high quality.
Yeah, and I think within that answer lie two questions around the challenges that obviously face you in this process. And the first is around ethics, guidelines, and managing those kind of challenges, which I'd love you to go into. And the other is around a certain level of resistance from medical profession, because, I think the younger generation or the new generation of doctors are more engaged with it. But it is a learning curve, and it is a completely different thing to embrace. So can you talk me through those two challenges and perhaps any others that you may have in terms of bringing this forward?
I think the younger generations of doctors, they spend their time on their phones. So it's actually easier for them to follow things on their phones, on their tablets, than the older generation. So we have the responsibility as the association to bring on board the older generation of doctors. And I must tell you that, in fact, they've taken this very well. I was invited to speak in a college weekend for the gynecologists in Durban. And one of their leaders, Dr. Conrad Mashlane, the guy runs his ward rounds or on a tablet. Amazing. So that tells you that the older generation also is slowly but taking up this. And what has been missing really is that clinical and ethical leadership, which I think with these guidelines that the HPCSA has now brought in, and what we consider to be comprehensive contribution from some, we think doctors are going to start to ease up to know that they are, from an ethical point of view, they are protected, and that the leadership and guidance that was necessary from the regulator, that is the HPCSA, is now provided. There has to be a clear distinction and almost like a clear definition of what role does the machine play within the clinical setting, and who then takes responsibility. The doctor would have to take their own responsibility for their clinical training and aptitude. But what happens if the machine then, is it the manufacturer or the OEMs that develop these technologies that then take responsibility? And I think from where we're sitting as a medical association in our contribution to the guidelines is that the companies need, to a certain extent, take responsibility. And also even the machine learning itself needs to be almost trained within the population of a country, because to avoid the biases that then come into play. And I think that's an important global debate, that you cannot translocate data that a certain machine performed in a certain way in a particular geographic area, and you expect that it might do the same, give you the same results in in a different geographic area. So these are the main ethical and I think legal issues that we're discussing around the integration of technology within the health sector.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I think this also begs the question that while you are navigating all of these different elements, right, you've got to think about how SAMA is bringing digital leadership to the table. Can you talk me through some of the steps you're taking to set the standard?
The most important thing for us, like I said to you, I think a future that improves the health of the nation is making sure that we partner with government and government understands the role that they need to play. And us as a National Medical Association understand the role we need to play within those discussions. If you have your clinical leaders informing the policy discussions around how and at what stage should these technologies be introduced, you are more likely to get a almost like a balanced kind of an approach that your doctors embrace the technology, like the example I was making with the Chinese, because they understand their role in that part. And if you clearly define from an ethical point of view who then takes responsibility, then you are able to allay anxieties among not just doctors, the whole clinical work group, that they know that they don't have to, the technology is not one there to replace them, but two, the technology has got a defined role, that they don't take responsibility for what they could not have control over. So these are critical discussions that within the Office of the CEO, we've got a leadership team that is led by Prof. Ames Dye. And I think the most important discussions will happen in that meeting where we bring the two ministries together, the science and technology and the health ministry together, and ourselves as SAMA as the bridge that represents the voice of the profession to be able to plan for our country, and I think for me, the day that I really dream that we can bring closer from that meeting is a day where South Africans are able to have what we refer to as the universal health electronic health record that allows them to access healthcare wherever they are. If we can get the two ministers to agree to that, we've already partnered with Huawei, which is one of the leading tech companies. And I know South Africans were doing amazing things within the health space. And that would immediately plug into that and provide that solution. But most importantly, the government must come together from the two ministries and invest on making sure that South Africans have this universal electronic health record. And I think, for me, it would be one of the best investments that the country could make, and it would yield the maximum return on investment.
No, I agree. Actually, that would be amazing. So you mentioned that you have seen some amazing innovations and entrepreneurial endeavors in the space. Can you Can you talk us through some of the ones that are really awesome?
Oh yeah. So one of the guys who's doing amazing work is a certain gentleman called Dr. Vuyani Mhlomi. Vuyani was surprisingly with me in the Junior Doctors Association at SAMA when we graduated as doctors. He's now founded a company called Curo Medical that is leveraging technology to increase access to healthcare. And they really are thriving on technologies of remote monitoring of patients. They're doing well in making sure that home-based care, you can be monitored while you are at home. So I think the work that is doing in the I think it's the Khayelitsha area in the Western Cape is amazing. He's just but one. I mean, Dr. Ntutuko Bengu is also a graduate from Natal. He's founded a company called Alchemy Health Solutions. and is consulting, and is actually one of the leading companies on digital health records. So these are people that I think government could tap into their knowledge and in fact implement this and create the infrastructure that can rival what we have within the financial infrastructure. Because there we don't have a competition, but I think we can take that and replicate it within the health sector. The other gentleman who was presenting in our roundtable and has taken an almost a different approach and is looking at what we discussed earlier of rural access to healthcare is a gentleman called Lubabalo Manyaka. His company is called Aflumed, and we've partnered with him for what we call digital consulting. When we ran into problems with some of our members becoming unemployed earlier this year, so we've partnered with him to see if they can assist and digitally consult. And we're also discussing with provincial departments of health to see that if the unemployed doctors can, from a summer arranged platform, support the rural clinics that are nurse-led in the main. So Lubabalo is actually making sure that rural communities using digital health and telemedicine have access to healthcare. Our view is that these should not be isolated. These must be integrated as part of the broader national health system. And this is what I saw in China. So they have a bigger room where all the different specialties are sitting there and they are waiting for calls coming in from rural hospitals. And if you go to the various clinical teaching departments, they've got a room that is just for virtual consulting. So these are technologies that we can leverage and integrate into the national health system. And I mean, if we do that, we can get to universal health coverage quicker than we think. Because technology can facilitate how quick we get there. And I'm also happy to know that even when technology was not impacting the health system or the other sectors as it's today doing, the World Health Organization, it's almost like they foresaw that technology will impact healthcare. They put it there as one of the pillars. They talk about robust health information systems. So that was a long time ago when those 6 pillars of a thriving health system were put together. But it's there. So it's not something that is foreign. I know finance is important, but the other pillars are also important, including information systems.
We're looking at connecting the dots and bringing it all together. Yes. And I do hope that we do end up rivaling the fintech sector because we are a market leader.
From the South African Medical Association, we are very, very clear that the health of the nation is important to us, and the empowering or the sharing or the training of doctors to embrace technology in their space is really, really important to us. That's why we are creating all these opportunities for doctors to learn and to embrace using technology even in their own space. But for us, the bigger debate is an investment at the national level. We really think that if the two ministries of science and technology can come together and agree that an investment will be made to make sure that South Africans have this we create a national data source for all South Africans. I can tell you that the quality of research that will come out of that is amazing. But the impact that would have on the quality of care and the continuation of care for all South Africans will be amazing. That the South Africans can access healthcare anywhere in the country.
That'll be amazing. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute delight to chat to you, and thank you for bringing about lasting change in South Africa.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate the opportunity.